we're talking ahead of the spring game, of course, and I'm not going to spend 20 minutes with you asking you, break this down, the spring game, break that. It's more so funny to me because, again, and we're going to, I'm going to be breaking it down. It's great for content. It's great for fans, and especially after last year not having spring ball and not having a spring game. Like, I've never been looking so forward to a spring game as I am looking forward to Saturday. But for you, again, Alabama had their spring game last weekend, and it was on ESPN. It's so funny because it's like every other SEC school is on SEC Network Plus, and then Bama gets.
Hold on, but they were all those games were on TV last year. I don't know why they were on SEC Network Plus this year because they were streaming. All of them were streaming, and it was like, I last year they made it a point to have every single game televised on SEC Network, and I don't know why they were doing that. Also, the Bama game was the highest watched spring game since 2016. So
I did see you post that. No, I actually did see you post that before, which is why I brought it up. But I'll ask you as a Bama fan, because I think we're probably on the same page looking forward to the South Carolina spring game. I mean, there's many things I'm looking forward to, especially when you have a first-year head coach. Just what are things going to look like? Obviously the quarterback position, the run, like all over, ready to see the new guys. But realistically, I think you and I can both agree, like, how much do you really take away from a spring game? I mean, when you watched Bama last weekend, like, I don't feel like there's anything where like you're there. You have a take after the game that's like this is fact.
Yeah,
now. It's like So I'm excited for it, but it's funny because it's like, how much do you really take away from a glorified scrimmage?
I will never forget. I used to get super into it. Is a glorified scrimmage. Like I used to get super into the spring game because like at the start of the Saban era, like you're bringing all these new recruits, and it's like you get guys like Julio and all these. You get excited for it, and then it's like. It's like I told somebody the other day. It's like, I used to get excited when I would see Kate Winslet's boob in Titanic. And then I saw other boobs. And I'm like, all right, who cares? This is really the same thing. But like when I remember like watching a spring game with my dad, and it was like, there was like a 7-yard hitch route that was completed. And he was like, watch this. And he like rewinds it like 8 times. And he's like, that's a perfect route and a perfect pass with perfect coverage. And I was like, can we just shut the, like, this, who cares? Practice. So
talking about practice, not a game.
I mean, like, I don't take away, as long as there's no injuries. And what you're going to start seeing now too, is like, I mean, Bama had 20 players out and 10 starters out. Like, and
did they just sit out, or did they just want to sit out, or just like they just?
No, I think there was like a string of COVID stuff that was going on from some people that I was told, but there was also just like, there's no reason to get hurt in the spring game, right?
That's what I was going to say. If guys are opting out for real games,
right?
Why would they play in the spring game? I mean,
agree. It's I think from this Saturday, what I would be excited to see is Doty for one. That's like where like all eyes and attention should be. And then seeing the young guys and seeing like, because like this is such a cool time where like, when you're transitioning to a new coach in a program where you get excited to see the new guys who are buying in, right? Like guys that might have been kind of overlooked or lost in the shuffle for the last coaching regime, but now have like a fresh start and like, who's going to like make a jump from somebody you might have thought it was like, that's going to be like a career backup. Maybe he's a bust. If he was a high recruit, that now is like a guy that's like, this guy gets it. Like the light finally came on because for whatever reason, he's able to work with his coach better or whatever. So, that's what I would be excited for, and especially the younger guys as well. But yeah, I mean, it's like one of those things like you want to watch your stars, but I also don't want to see Kevin. I don't need to see Kevin Harris run for 200 yards on that defense. And it's a spring game. Everything good that happens is bad.
Right, right. It's good and bad, right?
Yeah.
Offense is great. Oh no, defense is terrible. No, and I do want to make the point, by the way, to people listening. I'm not like putting down the spring game or taking any value off it. It's just it's kind of funny because again, how ridiculous would it be if I put out a Monday show like, we got to fire the defensive coordinator, Luke Doty. It's like, bro, we were playing ourselves. Like,
did you see the? I posted those stats last week on SDS, and I didn't look at the comments because I was too busy getting all like the numbers and all that kind of stuff. Because people like Saban want to be an asshole, and I can say that because I can say it. So anyway, but even it's like wants to be a dick. It's like we're not putting out the stats. So I'm like searching high and low for these stupid numbers to make this stupid graphic. It took like 6 hours. I finally go look at the comments, and it's like, here's the spring game numbers, which mean nothing. They mean absolute shit, right? And so then I'm like looking at it. It's like JT Daniels had this many yards. We're like, well, the defense sucks. That secondary's trash. I'm like, how? Like,
come on.
Why is this the career I chose?
Dude, I was thinking about making like a parody video leaving Williams-Brice Saturday, doing a little fire Shane Beamer.
You won't.
Yeah. Then be like, nah, I'm just
definitely
kidding.
Need to get on his bad side right now. Like off the bat, get on his bad side.
You know what? I'm kind of enjoying being on the good side of things right now. Yeah, I don't know. But either way, like I said, I'm not putting down the spring game. I'm really excited for it, like you said, especially to see all the transfers South kind of got, see them on the field for the first time. I think, it's funny. In every spring game, it's always like there's a spring game standout that like just goes off that never plays again. But I do think a guy that I think, like you were saying, a guy you see buying in and a guy I've heard great things about in camp and somebody I'm excited for and I'm excited to see in the spring game is a guy like, for example, Dak Joyner. I think that's a guy that was so underutilized in the Muschamp era that I think can make a big impact.